Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be making clothing for this guy. So let's not wait for anything and let's go. What I want to do is mask out the shape which I'm gonna be making my clothing. We're gonna be making shirt first. So I'll mask out the shirt. I'll hold my control, go into brush settings and change my masking from mask pen to mask lasso. This way I will have a masking lasso. And very quickly with one stroke I'll have almost a shirt ready mask. I'll just clear some of the sleeves off, and while holding Ctrl, I will go back here and change into pen so I can just fix some of the neck shape because I think we added way too much on here. Check the back and everything looks perfect. Now in that we can choose extract option, and I always choose extract with 0 thicknesses because we can always change the thickness later. So I'll extract, don't forget to accept. If you don't accept, the mesh will just disappear. And if it happens, just re-extract again. I will hold Ctrl and draw on a canvas and the mask will disappear. So now we have just a body double. What I'm gonna do now is go in geometry and choose 0 measure. And in a target, I'll choose 1. You can go lower, but if you go a bit too low, you might have some errors happen. Now, by any chance your mesh still comes very distorted and has a lot of errors, which used to happen in older versions of ZBrush, what you can do before remeshing, go into edge loops and add group loops, and then remesh it. For now, we have no errors, so I think it's okay. I'll maybe brush remesher again because I don't like this area. So if you remesh again, things can change. Okay, I will unhide the body and go into subtools. Now I'll choose the project, and if you press Ctrl and D, it will subdivide. If you don't want to use the shortcut, there is a divide option here. That's what I have in here. Subdivide, lower and high. And when you subdivide in the subtools, we'll just project. I will subdivide again and project. We'll have a bit smoother looking shirt. And in the deformation options, we can just polish the shirt a few times, and we will get rid of most of the smaller details and just inflate. And this way we will have a nice looking shirt. Now, let me just go back. Before we had 3 subdivisions. I go back, so we have 2 subdivisions. If you polish on lower subdivision, the more details you will lose. So this way I will lose quite a lot of details. And I'll just inflate. As you can see, a lot of details are lost and it looks more like a shirt now. If you want to have it even less details and more freedom shirt, just go back into 1 and polish. You'll destroy most of the detail. You can actually even remesh. That will destroy the features here. Can remesh it a bit again. Polish. And we can now inflate. Most of the details, as you can see, is gone. And just fixed a few errors with the grab tool. Now I'll select the bottom, invert the mask, and smooth my mask by holding Ctrl and pressing on the shirt. Now I'll use one of the transpose tools. If you have a gizmo, you can use gizmo. You can just drag down, or you can use the green. Want to scale it a bit down, make it a bit wider, maybe a bit wider in here. And before even unmasking, I'll smooth this out. Let's clear the mask and smooth some more. You can fix the neck with the grab tool. And if you are lazy to grab some of these issues, we can use simple inflate brush, which is B, I, and N, and just slightly tap over the areas. They're very good to fill these close-in areas, the inflate brush, and now we can just subdivide a few times, and we have a very draped in shirt. If you want, you can more detailed work closer to the skin, get the shirt a bit closer to the skin, while not adding details to the shirt, leaving it this way. For this type of shirt with a lower details and not being too elastic, you can use simple BSD, which is standard brush, and start drawing your folds. Now, to make folds look better, you will always have to use reference. But the general rule is never to go too much of the folds, too much detailing. If you're adding too much folds, it's just gonna become a big mess, hard to control, and stop looking like a folds and start looking like a noise or just a weird design. So I always recommend keeping it low, just adding some here. You can add a different one looking in here. You can add one from back. With reference, you'll always get better result. There is a free brush you can use, which I really like. It's from ST Many. I'll leave up the link in the description where you can get all of these brushes. But as you can see, this one is a very, very nice fold brushes where you can get your folds very quickly. And the folds itself look pretty amazing. And you won't even need to do a lot of fixing for the folds looks. And they just look great. Okay, let's try a bit different style of clothing. So, if you still have a mask on your body, that's perfect. If you don't, just Ctrl Z. And let's extrude it again on 0. Accept, unmask, and zero mesh on 1. If you forgot where is the zero measure, just go to geometry. When a zero measure is done, let's check what we get. And I think it didn't do that bad of the job this time at here. So I'll just subdivide and project. Now, depending on how much detail you want to be copied from your main body, maybe you don't want to project anymore. Just subdivide a few more times and inflate. Don't inflate too much and see how it looks like. It looks pretty good. Now, we can just delete higher for now and leave it at 2. I'll select here, make a mask smooth, go back to Gizmo tool, and maybe extrude some more. This way we can make our shirt a bit bigger. We can use the projection again. By any chance you get a messed up place, which I will try to replicate now. I'll push this one way in so it cannot be projected. If I project, I will get this error. You can try smoothing it out. not always going to work some of the ways. Let's say the edge is pushed in, you won't be able to reach it. What you can do is increase the distance and it should work fine. Now we just can try fixing this a bit and reprojecting. If you're willing, you can fix this one by hand. I sometimes like to go into lowest subdivision, go back to the lasso mask and just mask the bottom and use a gizmo or transpose tool and just scale everything to 0 from one of these and I get a flat line. Now I know when I project, the line will be flat there. Now we can just subdivide it again and re-inflate and have our bigger shirt. Let's not inflate that much, so it's closer to the skin. Let's fix some errors if we get some. And I'll subdivide it a few times. Now, a closer to the skin clothing are not that hard to fold. They usually won't have a lot of folds. You can only put few in. So I'll use the same standard brush. You don't need any fancy brushes. And on the where you think it's gonna have a lot of tension, so I know in the armpit, definitely going to have a lot of tension. I'll start drawing some folds from it. You can use a little bit bigger, but usually stay smaller. Smaller ones are easier to make look good. You can make one going out of there. Don't use big brush. You can add some on here, going like this, say on the chest, because chest here will definitely have some tension going. Some definitely in here. You can have a bigger brush to add this connection between. And some more in here. Making folds with the mirror will mess up. Even if you're trying to make the same looking folds on both sides, it's better to do them by hand. And as I told before, using references, you will definitely see better where to put it in them. But it's that simple. Don't go overboard, adding so many everywhere folds. It's just going to be messed too hard to control, and this way you will destroy not just shirt, but the way your body looks like as well. So let's not add too much. Now, let's say you want to make something different, like a jacket. Let's go back to our body. Let's hide the shirt for now. And what I will do is just go into the top view. And you can use any masking tool you like. I will use the simple freehand or the pen one. And while holding Ctrl and Alt, I will clear some of the mask. So I'll clear this part of the mask. And I'll just draw some on the neck this time, because jackets have some neck part. And make the transition smoother maybe. It's all in your choice. What I will do now is extract again. Make sure it's on 0 thickness. Extract and accept. Clear the mask. Now we can zero mesh it again. That's why I have zero mesher in here. Much quicker. And when the remesher is done, you can test a few things. So Now it very depends on what you're trying to style. Even this one would start making some sense after some cleanup, but I'll try making a bit longer so we have a bit more of tool used and you can have more freedom designing your own clothing. So I will hide the shirt just for now. I'll check how the remeshing looks like. So I think I'm gonna remesh it again. And I think it's much cleaner. You can do it 3 times, 4 times, but at some point it will not change at all. So I'll use the freehand masking tool just to mask as rectangular, something like this. Invert the mask and smooth it out. Use the gizmo tool again and just extract it to the bottom. I'll get my model back just to check how it looks. You can this one to make it thicker, wider maybe, or just rotate it. I should make it wider in here too. And go back to the brush tools and just do some adjustments. Now, if you don't like that you don't see anything back, you can use the double and you will see the back. It's in the display options, double. Or we can create a fake thickness for our jacket. So how you can do that is go to geometry, dynamic subdivision, and use dynamic subdivision. Turn off any smoothing if you don't want to have it, and just add the thickness here. So this is the dynamic thickness. As you can see, it's becoming thicker. Choose how much thickness you want for your jacket. And when you're happy, we can just play with this one. If you don't want to see it, you hide it. If you do want to see it, you unhide it. All right. So let's fix the problems we have. This guy, big bottom, and the design, the shape you want. I'll just move out this middle. And I know that the gravity would be pulling the clothing down, so it wouldn't bend that much into his body. So think logical, look at the reference. And I will clear this crease at the chest and make it look more like a jacket. We can do like a lot of work done on the neck. I think the neck is probably one of the coolest places of the jackets, so you can try designing your own cool look. And this way I'm not afraid to even remesh because I know the thickness is not there. It's just a dynamic thing. And even when I remesh, you can see the thickness remains, but the mesh itself is not messed up. This way I can very easily work. You can actually, well, just design what you think is the best, what you like the most. Play around, don't be afraid. You can add some bending closer to the body. And when you're close to done, you can unhide your shirt. You can even add fake smoothness. This doesn't really exist, and see how it looks like. We can delete the thickness. And if you're even happy, I mean smoothness, and when you're happy with the thickness, you can just apply. And now it's actually the mesh, not fake. If you don't want to apply, you just can go back. And yeah, that's pretty easy way of making it. What I will actually do is apply for now. And with the Z modeler, which is BZM, I will insert some on the edge loops. close to the body so I can retain more of the shape. If you will want this sharp, you should use a crease and use the edges, and you will have to crease all of these 3 edges. Boom. Now when you subdivide, it's gonna be sharper. You can do the same to the bottom. So maybe crease before adding the edge loops, that way it's going to be easier. Now, maybe we want a bit longer sleeves. It's probably better to do it before applying. So I always apply it at the possible end, but it's okay. And if you're actually not happy with the model and say, I want to go back to this one, but I don't want to delete all the changes I already did, what you can do is actually when you add the thickness, you can see that there are different subgroups, which is actually very, very helpful. Now you can choose the one subgroup you want to have left. You want to have the inner one left or outer one left. Now, by any chance you're hiding this only piece, just use a different brush. And if it's still happening, my change to freehand lasso I know really likes to hide only part of the mesh. And freehand usually works better. So let's say I chose the outer layer. Now I just delete the hidden and go back to my fake thickness. So I'll go and use the modeler again. And this time I will cover the edge. Quite hard to get the edge. And I will use simple mask and mask complete. This way I'll mask the bottom, invert the mask, smooth the mask a few times, and use the same gizmo. Now maybe using a scale will work like this. What you can do is use L symmetry, which you can find in the transforms. There is your L symmetry, or don't worry too much and just use a simple drag. Get it into the place, unhide, and we can remesh. We'll still have our thickness. Let's fix the shoulders, fix the positioning. And if we have this area, we can just use inflate brush. Can smooth it out a bit. And again, feel free to add detailing, so you can add a fake smoothness. And start working on your design. Can even add more. Yep. And again, for making folds on this guy, I would definitely recommend using the SK cloth. Don't forget to not use the mirror. Don't use the symmetry. And try to draw something. Now it's probably not always gonna be the best one to use a fake subdivision when you're trying to add a fold at the moment and you know you're not gonna change any more design of the clothing. Then just apply. You can apply with this, but the only problem is that you're not gonna get any subdivisions. So I like to apply the first one and subdivide the mesh on my own. Now I can easily add our folds. And again, not going overboard with the folds, probably already adding too much. Something like a big fold. And yeah, that's the basis of keeping their clothing clean and adding some easy folds. We can add some more interesting details to the jacket quite easily by adding a rim over the edges. Now, we can do it two ways. I'll show you both ways. So first, I'll duplicate the jacket 2 times. I'll choose the first one and hide other ones. I'll drop this one to the lowest subdivision because this first method you can only do in the lowest subdivision. So I guess, as you can see, my edges have a purple subtool group. So what I will do is go to Zmodeler again, and on the edges I'll just extrude. And you can have this. As you can see, I have polyloop, so it didn't extrude the side. So I'll just do it again and extrude something like this. And now I can actually extrude again from the sides. And this way I'll have an interesting edge while still being on the same model. What I like to do with the sleeves is use lasso, mask this part and move it up. You can inflate it, of course. And let's see what's the problem. So yeah, it seems like we need to add one more loop. So let's insert the loop. And now we should mask that loop. That's why working without thickness would be better in this case. We are already here. So let's just try the masking that somehow. Invert the mask. Let's drag it down. Fix it into the place. Yeah, looks better. Oh, we don't have the mirror, but that's fine. And we have something like this. Another way would be adding as a separate object, which probably might be better for most users. So let's select our other copy. You can use the highest or the lowest one, but I will always recommend using the lowest one. We'll have to delete this one, delete the higher ones. That's why we have a copy of other. So you'll go into the brushes and choose the curve tube. Make your brush size quite small and make sure you're drawing on the side of it. And when you're drawing, now just press and hold Shift and you'll have this line. Release your pen and you will get this. You can lower the size of your brush and press on a curve while it's still there to control the thickness. When you're happy with the thickness, press on the object. And now it's not a curve, but a mesh. What you can do is split unmasked, which you can find in here. Split unmasked points. And now we can use the higher subdivision one with our sides. There will be some imperfections, but there shouldn't be too hard to fix with a bit of grab tool. If you use the bigger brush size, it will be harder for you to destroy the mesh. My focal length somehow went wrong. And now we have a nice side to our jacket. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.